Why aren't you married? This was a question that my Job Corps students posed to me time and time again, whether I was a male student or a female student. The question was, Mr. Cage, why aren't you married? You're a nice man. So the question came to me continually. And at one point in my career and in my life, I had to really think, wow, why are these kids keep saying that to me? I need to think about that thought. Why am I not married? So if you are a person that's watching this, that you're single and you desire to be married, I want you to really tune in to some of the statements in the conversation that we'll have, because this may help you get to that place of possibly being married. But first, before we arrive at that place, we got to find out the why. We got to look at some of the behaviors that don't allow us to obtain that goal, because it's in our heart's desires. So I'll say this, that my first impactful relationship with a female was, of course, with my mom. And no knock towards my mom. I'm just giving the story. I'm giving my story, and she's a part of the story to help us understand why I'm not married and why I wasn't married. I had to come to that understanding. We have to go back and read some of the old chapters of our life to understand some of the whys and some of the behaviors and some of the thoughts and beliefs that we have in the present tense. I was abandoned by my mom when I was probably a sophomore in high school. She was the most impactful relationship with a woman that I had. So if you're watching this and you a guy or you a girl, it's your parents, your mom or dad, that set the model for the relationship that you will have in the future. You may not subscribe to that model in totality, but there are different components in that model that you subscribe to because you spend a great amount of time with your parents in that immediate household. But me being abandoned by her at the age of 15 or 16 was a traumatic experience that I had, but I wasn't aware of it, because back then in the early 90s, we weren't talking about trauma. We weren't talking about abandonment. These topics weren't as mainstream as they are. But I did experience the abandonment, the trauma, because she dropped me off at my grandmother's house one night and never came back because she was involved in a severe car accident that resulted in her jaw being broken. She was in a hospital. Therefore, she could not come back. It was out of her control. But as a child, you don't process it like that. You process it like this. My mom said she was coming back to get me. My dad said they was coming back to get me. They never came. And I remember it vividly, me looking out the window, crying tears, calling for my mom as the rain came down. And I cried for a while. And that became my experience. That became my perception. That became a part of my belief system. So from that point, I operated from a place of abandonment, from a place of rejection, even to the degree where I was involved in a relationship in high school where my girlfriend cheated on me with my best friend. So that solidified the dysfunctionality that came from my relationship with my mom. It transitioned into another relationship with somebody that I opened myself up to and cared about, because my mom was in and out of trouble. She wasn't a constant in my life at that time because she was not physically present. She was on vacation, right? When I opened myself up to this relationship and this person betrayed my trust with one of my best friends that I considered as a brother, now I'm hurt. And hurting people hurt people. From there, I transitioned into becoming the note king. I wrote notes to every girl that I thought that I liked. And if I gave her that note and she responded back, I'm at you. I'm at you. So much to the degree where my girlfriend at the time, who cheated on me with my best friend, I resulted and retaliated and cheating on her with her best friend. I said, hey, you know, so-and-so, they cheating on us with each other. What we gonna do? So throughout that whole duration of my high school career, which was tragic and trivial and a downward spiral of lack of focus, wasting time, hurt, which I didn't know that I was housing, it transitioned into my relationships. And any relationship, y'all, and this is associated in connection with the only child syndrome as well. Any relationship with a woman that had a series of conflict that I couldn't control resulted in me exiting that relationship. It's a term in psychology called cognitive dissonance, where your thought or cognition doesn't line up with the behavior, and the mode of attack is to relieve yourself from the experience through rationalizing or physically leaving the situation to relieve the tension in your mindset. But in that tension, there's a birth. And if we go through the process of conflict resolution and find out that there's areas in our mentality in our life that need to be adjusted. But why am I not married? The question that I would say to my Job Corps students if we were in each other's presence is because I suffered through abandonment. I suffered through hurt. And those sufferings were unidentified until I connected with my mentor. And he was able to identify some things in me that I couldn't see in myself. But these were repetitive cycles that I was operating in and didn't know. Should I have already been married? Yes. But you work with what you have. You work with the tools that you have. So moving forward, for those who desire to have a healthy relationship, who desire to be married, guess what you have to do? You have to perform an analysis of you. And my best practice and advice to give you is to allow somebody else that has experience and a level of professionalism to perform that analysis on you. And when they give you the evaluation, assessment, or feedback, don't refute it. Don't run from it. Because if you engage it, if you go into the path of the greatest resistance, you will birth what you're supposed to birth in your life.